always starts with the question, what problem are you trying to solve? Is it the problem of getting workers into the country? Or is it the problem of getting workers into the fields to harvest? Or is it the problem of getting workers arranged in a safe workplace due to the COVID virus? What if all of these problems have the same solution? All right, in this video, we're talking food production and the solution of robotics. COVID has put severe strains on our food production, distribution, and supply chains. And COVID caused a surge in demand for shelf-stable foods that would last longer, so shoppers didn't need to go to the grocery store and, of course, expose themselves to the virus. Now, that makes a lot of sense. However, at the same time, farm workers from outside the United States have been stopped at both the Canadian and Mexican borders over the increase in infections. And for workers inside the United States, there have been dramatic increases in infections at chicken and meat rendering plants, with stoppages causing domino effects of hogs having to be slaughtered while pork shortages were occurring. Seems to make no sense. Now, as with many areas of the economy under COVID, the outcome has been to accelerate trends that were previously in place but not really being pushed too hard. Trends like work from home and AI and telehealth, these have all been propelled forward now with force. And robotics is another trend in place prior to COVID that has now been supercharged. Remember, by 2050, there will be 9.6 billion people that need to be fed, and the current yields just won't get us there. Now, in agriculture, the use of robotics was already being developed and implemented in grains due to the more uniform nature of the product. Now, grain farming was also less worker dependent, as planting, pesticide application, and harvesting was already being done on some farms by machines before the virus hit. So that was kind of good news for them. And grain farming was seeing gains with driverless tractors and driverless harvesters being tested and utilized. However, for perishables and meat rendering, these are much more complicated, and they really require human involvement, judgment, and labor. Now, COVID conditions have now created a heightened demand by vegetable, tree fruit, and nut farmers, as well as chicken, hog, and cattle producers, to generate needed workers and a safer working environment. In other words, farmers are seeking a solution to the problem of inconsistent supply of labor and increasing cost of labor. Inevitably, this leads to robotics as a solution for farmers to create certainty for a key variable, labor. And these machines can do dangerous work 24/7 that a shrinking labor force is not willing to do, like really the physically demanding and less compensated work. Totally understand why, but that's a problem. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Hey buddy, robotics, won't that replace the workers in agriculture that need their incomes the most during COVID? Well, it's yes and no. If robots were fully deployed and to take over all the workers' jobs, yeah, sure, that would happen. But that's not gonna happen because they're not that fully developed yet. So it's no on that front. But it's also no to some extent because you're still going to need the workers around to watch the machines, to record what they do, and to fix them when they get broken. So it's yes and no. Man, I hate it when that guy jumps in, don't you? All right, let's take a quick tour of the 3 leading robotics and ag universities to see the latest of a few developments in this space. Now, all 3 are in the business of trying to increase yields by measuring, analyzing, and controlling the environment for farming. Let's start with Carnegie Mellon. Now, why them? Well, they were part of the original 2004 DARPA Grand Challenge for autonomous vehicles. So they got some street cred in this space. Now, Carnegie Mellon AI experts are teaming up with agricultural leaders and plant scientists to solve the emerging global food crisis. Now, CMU researchers are developing and deploying a unique, comprehensive system of sensing, robotics, and AI technologies to improve plant breeding and crop management practices to really solve this problem of feeding those 9.6 billion people in 20 years. Yes, plant yields are rising, but not fast enough to feed everybody. So what's needed are plants that produce more food on fewer acres with less water. And their FarmView group is an interdisciplinary research group that is developing automated, data-driven ideas to create and increase yields. Now, machine learning technologies analyze the data to determine what characteristics can produce the greater yields. And these technologies are also being applied to controlled environmental agricultural systems like vertical farms and greenhouses. So that's good news. Next up, the University of Illinois. Now, like CMU, U of I utilizes interdisciplinary personnel from a wide range of fields. Ag, bioengineering, aerospace, electrical and computer engineering, just to name a few. Now, U of I is trying to solve the problem of weed resistance to chemicals and the overall use of chemicals by using robotics. Now, weed resistance to chemicals has caused losses of about $5 billion per year, and a number of experts say that could rise to $100 billion if chemicals continue to lose their efficacy. And if we want to reduce the use of chemicals overall, this is really better for the environment and for consumers, obviously. Now, scientists at U of I are working on research funded by the USDA that would remove farmer reliance on chemicals to destroy weeds. The Illinois scientists' goal is to create collaborative and autonomous robots that would weed fields using mechanical implements in lieu of the chemical formulas that have lost their efficacy due to repetition. Now, today's crop breeders are trying to boost yields while also preparing crops to withstand severe weather and changing climates. And to succeed, they need to locate genes for high-yielding, hardy plants in crop plants' DNA. Now, all of that work was done by hand previously, but a robot developed by U of I to find these proverbial needles in the haystack was recognized by the Best Systems Paper Award at the Robotics Science and Systems at the preeminent robotics conference held in 2018. Their TerraSentient robot is only about 13 inches wide and about 20 pounds. It's really small, but it captures each plant from top to bottom using a suite of sensors and algorithms and deep learning. Now, using a transfer learning method, the researchers taught the TerraSentient to count corn plants with just 300 images. That's pretty amazing, and more to come from that team. Really pretty cool. All right, finally, let's check out Kansas State University. Now, similar to CMU and U of I, they have a multidisciplinary approach and team working on a range of topics on robotics. Now, one of the areas they focus on is measuring bugs. That's right, bugs, or the number of bugs. So when an entomologist goes out to look for pests in a field, they may look at 2 or 3 spots and make a judgment about the whole field. But rovers and robotics can cover the entire field, perhaps working through the night, and provide data on pest pressure in the entire field. In turn, they can target those areas more precisely for spraying and reduce the amount of chemical used and really attack the bug problem before it spreads. As well, they're working on drones to carry plants and seeds, right? And pesticides, right? These have the ability to go to areas where large tractors can't make it, like hills. And that also would bring in more acreage. So that would be good. As well, the researchers have mounted thermal infrared cameras to drones, which they fly at several hundred feet above the field. Now, these cameras measure the canopy and temperature throughout the field, sending volumes of information to a computer on the ground that meshes this data into a really interesting algorithm that provides guidance on what to do. Now, this is really cool stuff. Okay, let's leave it there for now on robotics in agriculture. Okay, if you like this video and you want to see more just like it, click on the video below. If you want to get these videos as soon as they drop, click on my face below and subscribe. I'm Andy Bush. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.